So last week I did a video on DoorDash's new robot called Dot, which is one implementation of physical AI that's handling deliveries from restaurants to door and also shipping smaller items like laptops and electronics and things of that nature. And there's been some other advancements that have happened over the last several years since I last looked at robotics. So in my last week's live on Saturday called AI Robots, which you can watch here, you can see more examples of videos that I explored where it's looking like a lot of trades are actually going to be penetrated with robotics. I mean, we're still going to need journeymen and people to dig into walls and things of that nature. But as far as like a lot of the entry level work, staging materials, a lot of the drudgery of building and construction from the ground up, can be automated with AI. Certainly that's plausible today. But as far as like doing things in the house and home care, things of that nature, we're starting to see breakthroughs there as well. And there's a video that I found that actually has some really great statistics, what things are going to cost, what they can do. From a channel called David Carbut, which, by the way, I'll put a link below. You should subscribe. It's a really great channel. He goes into great detail on one particular robot, the Figure 3, which is a huge competitor to Tesla. So let's take a look at this video, and we'll go through some of the things that this new robot can do. And I'm also going to point out some other concerns that I have, because while this stuff is really cool, we still have a lot of the concerns that I brought up with the DoorDash around security and privacy and some other things around jobs. So let's take a look at this video. Without further ado, David Corbett is going to talk about the Figure 3 launch.
Figure just dropped a new humanoid robot demo and it looks unreal. Check this out. You're watching something that seemed impossible just a few years ago.
That's true.
This isn't CGI, this isn't a human in a suit, this is Figure 3, a fully autonomous humanoid robot doing household chores, and doing them well. But here's what's really wild. We're watching the future of a multi-trillion-dollar industry unfold in real time. So let me tell you what you're actually looking at, and why companies like Tesla and Figure AI are in the race of the century. The humanoid robotics market is exploding right now. Elon Musk has said he believes it could take Tesla into the deca-trillion-dollar range.
That's tens of trillions of dollars.
Why the sudden boom? 3 reasons. We've got massive labor shortages, aging populations who need help, and AI has finally gotten good enough to make these machines actually useful.
Okay, so just pausing for fair use, but also I need to say a couple things. Yeah, David's brilliant. Yeah, you really should subscribe to his channel. It's pretty cool. But anyway, yes. So we have other societal problems here. We've got, like you said, an aging population. We have a birth gap, shrinking population as well. And, Japan's kind of been the bellwether for this, that they're usually about 10 years ahead of us in demographics. But, we had the boomers. The boomers are the largest population. That's why they're called the boomers, the baby boom. And they're aging. They're I think by 2032, 33, I think they'll all be basically in retirement. But a large number of them are already entering retirement, and they're going to need more care. But it's not so much them as it's going to be Gen Z and millennials are going to need their home health or aging in place, so to speak, assistance with robots, because each generation's been getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, I think the millennials had a small bump. They're slightly bigger than Gen X. It's still dramatically smaller than the baby boomers, and each successive generation is generally shrinking, which means there's going to be less taxes going into the system, because that's how Social Security works. It's not like a lockbox where the money is saved and then invested. It's literally off the current workers paying into the taxes. So if each successive generation is getting smaller, less taxes are going into Social Security. And there's other problems. I won't get into how that all works. But the idea is that you'll also have a smaller number of people providing the care. So the robots coming in will fill that gap. So we're going to need these robots to do home health and caring for the elderly. So that's one big thing that I see. And also, because the populations are getting smaller, the workforce is smaller. So we'll need robots more in manufacturing, doing the entry-level jobs, much further down the road. Maybe not today, but certainly down the road, the way the population gap is happening. We're way below replacement rate, dangerously so. And I think robots are going to be kind of the way that we're going to keep society running, to be honest. But anyway, let's get back to what David's going to say more about these robots and the roles they're going to fill. But the price tag, when that comes up, I've got something very interesting to say. But let's get back to the video and continue on.
For decades, humanoid robots were stuck in labs doing choreographed demos, but in 2025, they're learning to adapt on the fly, just like humans do.
That's the AI.
Now, Figure AI, the company behind the robot you're watching, launched just 3 years ago in 2022.
Wow.
They're backed by OpenAI and NVIDIA, which tells you just everything about their strategy.
Okay.
This isn't just building a robot body, it's about building an AI brain.
So there you go. OpenAI, who's, just so you know, they're the ones that made ChatGPT, pretty much one of the bigger players. So just like we had in the .com era, we had search engines, the big search engines. It was Yahoo and Google were the final two dominant search engines. And Google eventually won out. Irony of ironies, Yahoo was an early seed investor in Google, by the way. So never invest in your competitors, right? But so it's kind of the same thing. We've got OpenAI, we've got Gemini, which is Google, which I don't know that Google's really doing anything with robotics to this level. And then we have Tesla, which is Elon Musk, who owns X, which makes Grok, another competitor to ChatGPT, just so you have a better idea of the field. Okay, let's continue on.
That can actually think. Figure 3 is their third generation model, and it's a massive leap. It's lighter, safer with soft textiles you see, and it's got something really clever, wireless charging through its feet, so it just walks over to a charging pad and powers up. No plugging in required.
It's pretty amazing how much dexterity this thing has with the cups and the plates.
But the real innovation, look at those hands. They've got cameras embedded in the palms, so even when the fingers are wrapped around something and blocking the main cameras, it can still see what it's doing.
Also, another thing that's important too with the hands, real quick, is the ability to know how much gripping strength when you're picking something up. So again, that's the benefit of AI. Whereas with the older robots, like I talked about in my live stream, every single step, every single decision is programmed. And it works great in a closed environment for repetitive things like making a widget, or just say building a box as an example. You're going to make that same box a million times over, so you can do the same steps over and over and over. But the key innovation here is with physical AI, you actually have the brain making decisions based on objects in the environment, because that environment is constantly changing. Which brings me to the fact that bipedal robots are bipedal and humanoid like this because they have to function in the human-built world. All right, so that's a key thing to keep in mind. Continuing on. Fair use, YouTube. And
the tactile sensors can detect forces as light as 3 grams. That's why it can handle that delicate dishware without dropping or crushing anything. The vision system is twice as fast, with 60% wider field of view compared to their last model. And those actuators, the motors that move it, are twice as fast as before. This means it can actually match human speed movements for everyday tasks.
Yeah, it is pretty.
Watch how fluid these motions are.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
it's years of AI training compressed into split-second decisions. Now, Figure isn't...
Sorry about that. Got a little excited. I was over talking David. But yeah, that's. I was just going to say the big difference I've noticed this time, just seeing this newer version of robots. They're almost as fast as humans, just kind of having intent in doing something. I don't know about them running around and jumping and doing all kinds of crazy somersaults like I was showing in the in the live stream this weekend, but that has a different application. You don't want robots doing somersaults in between each fold. So anyway, let's continue on. Fair use, YouTube, fair use.
Alone in this race, Tesla's Optimus robot is their biggest competitor, and Elon Musk has been making some bold claims.
That's not unusual. Elon's very, very bodacious.
He believes Optimus alone could make Tesla a $25 trillion company. Just last week, Tesla showed Optimus doing kung fu moves, recovering balance after being shoved. Earlier this year, they showed it taking out trash, sweeping, vacuuming, all learned from watching human videos. Tesla's planning to scale up production next year and targeting a price of...
So that was kind of one thing that I wondered about these things is like because it was showing how it was using that particular dishwasher and folding those particular clothes. So, I would imagine when you unbox the thing, you have to say, hey, this is my t-shirt and this is how I like it folded. Please watch. But the fact that you can just point it to a video playlist to learn is incredible. That's amazing. All right, let's get back to it. Fair use, YouTube.
Of around $20,000 per robot.
$20,000.
That's the key battleground cost. Figure is focused on advanced AI and dexterity. Tesla is leveraging their automotive manufacturing to scale fast and cheap. So what does this mean for you?
Okay, so let's think about this for a minute. If you could buy a robot, if you're an employer, they could buy a robot that builds things for $20,000, and the average American, I think, male salary is $37,000. If it can do the job 80% or 90% as good as a human, would you buy that robot? And how many of them would you buy? Because, you have to pay that 1 year salary up front, maybe do a loan. It seems like the math works out pretty good at this point. Like I was thinking, oh, well, if it's 50,000, maybe not. But for manufacturing jobs, that's actually pretty doable. How good these things are, for sure. Of course, this is a demo. It's all happy path. Everything here is done perfectly. But you look at where the robots were a year ago, because last year I was like, there's no way robots are going to get into the trades here and start doing, I showed a robot that could hang drywall. I was showing robots that could build entire houses in 3 days, or a collection of robots. Another robot that could lay bricks for a house. Wasn't doing mortar or rebar, but the fact that it could do the heavy lifting like that, I mean, that's a major helping hand. So, that's $20,000 versus 37. That's $17,000 savings. How much it costs to maintain these things and work on them, how long before you have to go for maintenance, how long they take to charge, I don't know. But the math is starting to math a little bit here. So that's something to think about. All right, let's continue on here. Let's see what the Concierge robot here is going to do.
We're probably 5 to 10 years away from having these in homes at scale, but the applications are coming fast.
At scale, meaning everybody has one. Or they can make it so that it
elderly care.
Demand.
Imagine a robot helping your grandparents stay independent longer. Dangerous jobs, factories, warehouses, disaster zones where humans shouldn't go. And yes, household help. Right now.
Yeah, so not just household help, but assisted living scenarios. So like he was saying, I think because the cost of home health is so much. I remember when my grandma, her husband passed away of a heart attack. Grandpa, rest in peace. When we put her in assisted living, I remember this was 2005. Yeah, 2005. And back then it cost $3,800 a month to put her in a home with a full-time nurse, with other people. So it wasn't like the nurse was coming to her house. She lived in a home where there were, I think it was 4 or 5 other people of the same level of care. She had Alzheimer's as well. So she didn't know what year it was. She didn't always recognize us. In fact, she kept calling my dad her husband's name because, he looked similar to, him. And so, yeah, there was, that takes a lot of effort too, because she had to be watched 24 hours a day. Even when she was living with my grandpa, at the end there, she would grab the keys and just get in the car, drive off, and disappear. And we'd have to go find her. So, and I remember one Thanksgiving weekend right after Grandpa passed away, she came to live with us for a couple of weeks. And she would just get up in the middle of the night, stark naked, and just rifling through the trash, going through the cabinets, pulling everything out. So, $3,800, I guess was probably would not be a lot of money today, but to take care of somebody with those kinds of needs. But just think of what it's going to cost today in 2025, 20 years later. The robots are going to be needed. I don't know if they'll be able to handle somebody with Alzheimer's that like tries to get in the car and escape, but just other general things around the house. And they could also monitor and say, okay, she's having an episode. You might want to come over here and intervene. So just something to think about, especially with the smaller population. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to need these robots to jump in. But anyway, fair use YouTube. Let's get back to the video.
Figure and Tesla are both targeting massive production scale, but here's the part that should blow your mind. Over 500,000 industrial robots were installed globally last year, double what it was a decade ago.
Yeah, just real quick, that number is probably dominated by Amazon. I'd made a video on that. I believe the thumbnail was 1 million robots, 0 complaints. And I also talked about in my DoorDash video last week about multi-mode, where they drive with Dot to you. They can fly it to you with drones. That's something they've been working on. And I also mentioned that they could walk the package to you. So at least from the truck in Amazon or mail delivery service, from the truck to your door and leave the package. Now, whether or not that robot goes unmolested or interfered with, who knows? But that's a whole different problem for society to solve when we get there. Okay, back to the video. Fair use, YouTube.
But those are mostly robot arms bolted to factory floors. Humanoids are different. They're designed to work in our world, using our tools in our spaces. They don't need custom facilities.
Because that's
why
a world
this
built by
matters so
humans.
much. A humanoid robot can walk into any home, any office, any warehouse, and just start working. That's the promise. Anywhere. The challenge is making them smart enough, safe enough, and cheap enough. What you're watching right now, this robot folding laundry, loading a dishwasher, this is, as Figure's CEO put it, straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, he's not wrong. But anyway, like and subscribe David Corbett, sorry. I'll put the link in the description below. But if you do like this kind of content, I have a channel too. I'm Jacob. Please like and subscribe. Comment below. Tell me what you think. Robots are getting better and better. Just like what I thought with AI a year and a half ago when I was a software developer. When I first started hearing about AI and I used it a little bit, I was not impressed. But in the year and a half since then, the tools are incredible. And I can easily say that 90% of what I did could be easily done by AI in a blink of an eye, which would have taken me and a team weeks to do something. So it's a time saver. It's a force multiplier, no doubt. But anyway, like and subscribe. And every Saturday, don't forget, I go live 7 PM MST. And I also launch AI characters that you can interact with. And I expand more on these topics. And until the next one, peace.